It's Amy from Little Farm Quilts. It's our new sew along starting tonight. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get on. We've moved my sewing area to a different area, so we have spent the last hour frantically rearranging. Figured out that the layout wasn't great for filming, so we frantically rearranged with the help of my sister to get it a little better for filming. So we have a few tweaks to work out here, but other than that, we are ready to go on the sew along. Has anybody piped on yet?
Hi Jackie. Hi Trisha.
Hello.
No, other Trisha.
Other Trisha. Jackie, you should be sewing with us. Just saying. Trisha and Mom are both here in the room, so that's been interesting trying to fit us all into this room. But I think we got it figured out, and we'll see how it goes tonight, huh? Did you get it shared?
I'm getting it.
Nice, Trisha. Trisha's going to be the new assistant now that Courtney's traveling across the country. I don't know what else to say, I guess, while we're sitting here waiting. All right, so we are going to do what's called a disappearing 9 patch. It's going to be a small lap quilt, table topper, wall hang, whatever you want to do with it. You have a couple of options here. Those of you that bought a kit from me, you only have enough in there to do the size that we're going to do in the sew along. If you are somebody that bought your own fabric, all you have to do is add more blocks to both the width and the length, and you will get a bigger quilt. So you just keep building until you have the size you want. This is very easy to do that with. So Matt, I'm going to have you zoom in here. So what we're going to be doing tonight is making 9 patches like this. So if you have a kit from me and you're trying to figure out your 9 patches, we want to talk about this a little bit. I put this one together earlier. I will probably do all of mine the same. You don't have to do all of them the same, but we'll do it all. I'll do mine all the same just for purposes of teaching. Your 9 patches will end up being cut apart and re-put back together. So don't... My mom and sister are going to be quipping back here all night, I think, but don't get too inundated with, overwhelmed, whatever, with putting your blocks together. You'll figure out what's going to work for you. But there's a couple things you should know. So we get 2 more things out here. So when you put your 9 patches together, these are called 9 patches for obvious reasons. There's 9 blocks we're putting together into a square. What you want to remember is that when we cut these up, what's going to happen is the center square is going to end up being cut into quarters, and they'll end up being just 2-inch squares. And all of these center squares will be cut in half, and they'll end up just being strips. So what you want to do is put the fabric in the corners that you like the best, because those pieces will remain whole. That'll make more sense when we go to cut a square. So how I arranged mine, and it took me a few minutes of rearranging things, almost like decks of cards, to get it this way, and I'll show you why I came to this conclusion. So in the center, when I do 9 patches, especially for disappearing 9 patch, I like, it's just my preference, either a dark color or light color in the center. So I went back and forth between this one and this one. And I also tried the green. And I just came to this because the block is balanced. We have some dark shades going on. We have some lighter and medium shades going on. And it just feels like when I'm looking at this block that it's balanced to me. This block is going to be cut up into small squares. These will all be cut up into strips. And I like this fabric, so I wanted to keep it whole. Likewise with these, although I'm going to turn this one. And then you're just going to sew together your 9 patches. I think that's the same as I have there. Yep.
Christmas trees are turning.
Oh, turn. Yeah. So once I've decided that this is the design that my block's going to take, I'm going to take the rest of my fabric and we're just going to stack them. Because I'm going to do them all the same. And so I want them all stacked up alike. Okay, and now we're going to sew them together. So what I do is, I showed you guys this before, I web the block. So we take this row, fold it onto this row. My fingers aren't going to work. Like this. And then you take this and sew it. And you're going to chain piece these. So this is the first row. Put them in here. Find my foot pedal.
Jackie says, see, I'm lost already, not even seeing.
What'd she say?
Sewing. She's lost already and she's not even sewing. So what'd you just take again now?
I took the second row. So I took this one and this one.
Okay.
And we're back together. Uh-oh. Turn the volume down on that speaker over there, Trish.
Mom.
Oh, it's Mom's. Then I'm going to take this third one and do the same. Just like that. We're going to take it over here to the sewing machine. Now, if you got my hint, these should all be 5.5-inch squares. So then you pull this out like this, and you open it up, and you have this, this, and this, and we're going to start. You're going to take this whole thing and keep it together. This is called webbing your block. You're going to take your third square, fold it over on here. We're taking the whole thing over to the machine. I'm going to hit my elbow on that iron. I'm going to line it up. And you're going to sew. Then this one is laid open. You just want to, this is why you have them stacked over here, so you can verify that this is the way this is supposed to go. You've got this light one and the snowflake print. So then you're going to pick up one of these. You're going to lay it down right here. You're going to line it up. And so remember, you're trying to get a 1/4 seam allowance, but I will say that as long as you're consistent, it doesn't really matter on this project. But you should be consistent across the board.
Cindy says hi, Amy and Linda.
Hello, Cindy.
Kim Glade Sember wants to know if this is a kit, and the answer is yes.
Yes, and you can get them from me.
So should they just instant message you
Yes.
afterwards if they would like one?
Yes. All right, so now you have this. This is your block all webbed together. And the cool thing about webbing is it keeps it all together. So if you had to stop sewing right now and go take care of a kid or a dog or whatever, you've got the block all together. So this is top row. We're going to fold it over on the second row. And those of you that have been with me for so long know that we're going to nest seams now. So I'm going to start to sew. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this third row is out of my way. And we have this seam going towards the top. So this seam's going to come to the bottom. And we're
So you
going
have
to,
opposing seams.
yeah, opposing seams, just like that. And you nest them. You can feel it when they lock in together. And then you want to sew.
That's the one you're zhuzhing.
Zhuzhing, yes. And then I'm going to go down to this next one, and we're going to see which way they want to go. And I think like this. You can see it from the side. You can see that they form like two U's that are touching. And this is just how I hold it. It's easier for me.
Hi, Loopy Loo.
Hey, Laura. So then we have, let's get rid of some of these threads. I have lots of threads going on. So then we have this last row down here. So the thing you want to pay attention to here when you do this last row is, remember, you push these seams a certain way on this last row. So you want to make sure that you push them the same way, or what's going to happen is you're going to have a twisted seam. That's not the end of the world, but it's really going to be a pain in the butt when we get to the quilting part of this project.
What are you doing, Trish?
You don't want to deal with all that. So I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to start sewing, and then we're going to flip. You'll see what I do. So now that I've got the needle in, I'm going to see the seam is going towards the top of the, so this one's going to come down, and they're going to nest just like that. And so this one is also going to go towards the top of the project. So this one's going to go down, and they're going to nest just like that.
All yours together.
It's awful quiet back there.
Well, I'm ripping out one.
Oh! And I'm going to leave that block in there like that, and I'm going to move on to another one. So we're making 9. I'm probably not going to make 9 altogether tonight before I show you the next step, because by the time we get to next week, I want you to have your next step done as well. So the same thing, we're going to take one of these, fold that over, take it right to the machine. And you know, I understand that I have this big desk and I have lots of room to work with, and people have made comments about that it must be nice to have that big desk. You can do this with 2 TV trays. You could technically have your sewing machine on a TV tray and have a TV tray next to you with these blocks on it. So this can be done without the big desk.
Or you could just take over your dining room table, because nobody eats at the dining room table
nobody
anymore.
eats at the dining room table anyway. Chair's kind of low right now. It's really low now. Trying to adjust my chair. Okay, so this block here that I cut with a wrinkle in it. So hold on. It's actually bigger than it's supposed to be. So I'm going to set that one aside. I'll fix it later. I'm going to take this one. Did I take a bird block last time? Okay.
Hi, Jess Coon.
Hi, Jess. This chair's still too low. So when I get to this point, I'm going to cut off this first block, and we're just going to set it over here because that's now ready to be ironed. And then I'm going to take this one out. I have this handy dandy cut feature on my machine, which I really like. So we're gonna, again, verify that we've got the right, and then grab the right block to go on the end of that row. Remember, see, you got it all together. It's not gonna fall apart. It's all together. Right one. Got one of these.
What on earth is a TV tray?
Of course, that's Jackie.
Is she kidding?
Yeah, she's heckling. It's her, usually her and Matt going back and forth, but Matt's busy behind the camera now, so he can't do that. Up, up. No. So I have my rows all put together. Some circles. I figured out what it is. It's a machine that's too far away. There we go. That's what happens when you're frantically moving stuff 15 minutes before showtime.
Now you have to zhuzh the seams together.
You do. Because here I am. Because we're putting rows together. I always feel like one seam wants to go a certain way, so we just make the other one kind of go the other way.
So it's a happy little seam.
It's a happy little seam, yes. Not Bob Ross.
Do it like she does it.
Do what like I do it, Mom?
The nest, not the nesting, but the webbing.
I think the webbing makes it easier, especially if you have to stop. For some reason. So,
I
I
mean,
think this,
theoretically, you could just keep going with this and
yes.
put them all together later. I think they
Okay, so I'm seeing which way, so this one went towards the top. So we're gonna send it towards the top this time too. And then this one goes towards the bottom. So then this one will go towards the top. This pattern is really kind of forgiving, so you can make errors and it will all kind of flesh out towards the end. So let's look at the back of this block for a second. When I talk about the seams and pushing them one way or the other, you have to make sure that they're pushed, especially in this middle. If you push this seam down on this side, you have to push it down on this side. Likewise, if you pushed it up, you need to push it up on the other side, because what will happen if you don't, you'll end up with a seam that does this. That's not flat, and it's not good when we go to quilt it. So we are going to be machine quilting these pieces when we're done, so you will want this as flat as possible. So I'm going to give this a little iron. Whoops, sorry.
You're fine. I'm annoyed.
And I'm using my little iron right now, but I'll probably give all these blocks a nice big steam on the big iron.
I kind of like this web.
Yeah, it works out really well, I think.
I think so. My seams are matching up.
Yeah. So we have a couple blocks together and done. So I want to show you where we're going to go to from here. I have to kind of move these out of the way because we don't want to cut into those. So this block, we're going to take all of our blocks and you're going to do these one at a time. Not going to do them. I had a paint cutter here. There it is. So we're going to cut the block in half, vertically and horizontally. So the best way to do that,
Now the key is that I do them both the same.
the center square should measure approximately 5 inches. So what I do is I put my 2.5 line measure on the edge of the block, right there. So this is 1 inch, 2 inches, and then a half. And then I try to line up this dark line. I don't usually cut sitting down. And you see, sometimes it doesn't exactly match up, but most of the way it does.
Okay.
So what you want to do, I'm going to stand up and cut, because I just want to do this right. Sorry, sorry, Trish.
You're
I
fine.
just bumped into you.
No, you're fine.
I'm going to cut this way. Then we're going to very carefully, without moving anything, don't move, do the same thing this way. It takes a little bit of patience. And this one doesn't line up perfect, but it lines up good enough. There we go.
I got my friend Ann watching you.
Okay. So we're going to cut this way. So now you can see, let me get this off. This way. We have 4 separate blocks. So here's where I said the center block is going to go down to a 2-inch block. And then these center blocks are all going to end up being strips. So what you do is take this block and turn it like this, and take this block and turn it like that. And then we're going to sew it back together. Have you ever done a disappearing 9-patch, Mom?
No, I've never done a nine patch.
It's pretty interesting.
Hi, Debbie Abbott.
Hi, Debbie. So I'm going to sew these back together into a block. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And there's no matching seams. That's one of the best parts about disappearing 9-patch. You have no seams to match up in the end.
You've never done a disappearing nine patch either. have you?
No.
I've actually done quite a few.
Whenever I look there, they always tell me make
And
a
I'm
disappearing
going
nine
to
patch.
take this one.
No, that would.
And this is actually how I sew. I get kind of bored doing one thing all the time, so I switch it up. I'll put this over there because it needs to be ironed. We're going to take this one off. And see, this is webbed as well because we kept it together. Here we have our 2 blocks that have the corners turned out. You want to flip it like this and see the string's going to keep it all together. And the only seam that you need to match here is the center. This is technically a 4-patch you're doing now, even though it was a 9-patch and you cut it apart. It's now considered a 4-patch. And so this center seam right here and right here, this is where you want to nest those seams. And those seams you want to match. And you can see that I'm matching them way down here. I'm not waiting until I've sewed all the way down here and trying to match them. Because
Did
this,
you have to use them?
I did use them But you want to match them as soon as you can, because I tend to put a few stitches in and then match my seams, because if you sew all the way down here and then you're trying to match these seams and there's something wrong with your block, there's no time to correct it. If you get here and your seam doesn't quite match, you can stretch a little bit. The fabric gives you give and you can get it really kind of matchy. Now you don't want to be stretching it a lot. If you have to stretch it a lot, then you need to go back and redo your block. I'm holding the seam down because that's the direction it was going. I have a twisted seam here. You see what I did? I twisted a seam. Exactly what I've told you guys not to do.
Better done than perfect.
Oh, it's not twisted.
Oh, it's not.
Good.
Whew, that was a close one.
That was a close one. Thought I twisted a seam there. And so here, I'm matching this corner as soon as I can, because if you have a little bit of extra on one side or the other, it can be taken up by the machine sewing as long as you have your corner matched. I'm going to sew this one. See, I'm checking to see what way we sewed the seam. And so I'm pushing it over. And I'll show you in the ironing why that becomes important.
Jackie says, ha ha, better done than perfect.
It is better done than perfect. So this is what our block looks like now. But can we go to the ironing board, Chewy? I don't know if you guys can see over here.
Mm-hmm.
Ken?
Confused.
Oh, I did twist a seam. Right here. I have a twisted seam.
You like to sew those together.
So I'm going to iron it as best I can, and we're going to iron this way.
Something to do, huh?
I'm going to iron this way. I'm ironing from the back because I want all the seams
Might have to
flat.
learn how to do binding on Amy's clothes too.
When we go to quilt this, I got another twisted seam. Boy, I'm really hitting the jackpot tonight.
I'm finding that the seams want to go in the same direction of this.
One seam will definitely want to go one way. You know, it's a little harder to get.
Okay, so I've got them generally going in the right direction, but you see, once these get pressed, how flat this is all going to be. And that's what you want. When you're quilting, you want that flat. And so now from the top, and like I said, probably once we're off live, next time I sit and sew and finish these blocks for next week, I'm going to take them with my big iron and give them a nice pressing. And I'll probably starch them.
Why do you starch them?
It actually makes the whole loading a quilt for quilting easier if you starch the blocks. I don't know why. It gives them more structure.
What do you recommend for starch? Rubbing with a potato?
No.
Nope, stuck
The
in
Walmart stuff. Yeah. The cheap stuff. Right? You remember me
Yeah.
saying that, don't you?
Yeah,
The cheap stuff.
Walmart.
Cheap Walmart stuff. So this is what your blocks are going to look like. Well, depending on your fabric placement, but here are the 4 that stay whole.
Deb Abbott's asked, she came in a little bit late, if you started with a 9 patch, and the answer is yes.
Yes, Deb, we started with this 9 patch. Sorry.
I answered her too, but
Okay, good. Yep, started with a 9 patch just like this. And I'm making them all the same, Deb. But I told everybody they didn't quite have to. If they didn't want to, they could mix it up. I'm making them all the same because I just want the same look. I also told people that if they bought their own fabric, that they can make it bigger simply by adding blocks to both the width and the length, and adding a little bit more white in the stripe for binding and borders. You can also, if you have fabric at home, you can make your own borders and put a wider border on. You can really do what you want to with this. This is gonna be about 50 inches by 50 inches, I think, when we're all said and done. Maybe a little less, depending on how good my math skills were. But
The video is behind.
it could be a table topper, it could be a wall hang, it could be a small lap quilt, it could be lots of things. But this is what my block's gonna look like. So by the time we meet next week, what time are we at?
7:30.
Oh, only a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to keep sewing?
Do another disappearing.
Okay.
Cut another
Let's
one.
do another, cut another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just 'cause I think that's the.
So this is our 9 patch, and I've got threads. I really don't like threads.
I don't either, they're all over my floor.
Yeah, well, I found a Swiffer does really good work at those, but
Do you have to press it first?
this has been pressed.
Oh.
Just doesn't look it. So I'm lining up my 2.5 inch mark, which is right here, in one of my black lines here. And you see it doesn't always match up perfect. I don't know why. My 9 patches never match up perfect. Gonna cut here. You notice I'm closing my blade because earlier today I cut a finger just by touching the blade.
I did that earlier this week.
Yeah. So here again, my 2.5 inch line in my black lines. I want this cut to be straight. Everything else will kind of be a little flexible, but the cut to be straight. I got this cutter in one of my sew boxes that I've told you guys that I get.
They're $17.99.
Retail
Yes.
$17.99.
Yep.
They're a really good cutter. I like them better.
Yeah, I do.
So this is the one I normally use with the grip handle, and this is this one. I like this one better. So I don't know. So then we're taking this corner out and this corner out, and we now have a 4 patch. See? We're gonna sew this to this, and there are my
It
dogs.
looks like that deer in
Just
that
do
picture
this.
you fussy cut.
Oh yeah. I didn't though. I don't
I
fussy
know.
cut anything. But yeah.
It doesn't matter that my trees are sideways in this one.
My trees are sideways too. Doesn't matter. Nope, doesn't matter. And pick up this one. Sew on this edge. The thing about the disappearing 9 patch is you could put a white square in the center of every one and you would have white cornerstones in your quilt. That's how it works out.
That's true.
You could put a
That's
black
what you had.
black 5.5 inch square in the middle, and you would have black cornerstones. You could put gold in there, and you would have gold cornerstones. It's kind of cool, and you can get different looks depending on what you put in that center. So now we're gonna. This is the top. You know, the first one I did before I opened that up, and the deer was upside down, and I had a little pitter pat because I thought I was upside down, but these are both upside down. So you just turn the block, and it's right side up.
Yay!
Yay!
Deer's alive again.
Yep.
Now you got is yours.
I have to be honest, I've never tried that webbing before, Amy.
That's a big Bonnie Hunter thing.
I know.
Alright, so I got a few stitches in, and now I'm going to go down here to this center seam. Gonna make sure it matches up before I get all the way down to here. And then I'm gonna match up my corners before I start sewing. Okay, so let's give this one a quick press. Remember, I'm going to press from the back first. Try to get everything as flat as I can.
Kind of like that ironing board.
If this is just a scrap piece of wood out of Matt's garage, and I put some batting on it and some fabric,
Wow.
and I used a staple gun. And I've seen actually people replace the top of their ironing boards with the
Mhm.
same kind of concept.
Really?
Yep.
I'm doing mine.
And then I'm gonna press it from the top. Yeah, because the ironing board's too pointed for quilters. They like a
Yeah.
nice big flat
It's
area.
hard to press the whole quilt.
Yeah, so they replace it with rectangle pieces of board covered in something. A lot of people do it with felted sweaters now. So if you go to the Goodwill store and pick yourself up a couple of wool sweaters
Mm-hmm.
and run them through the wash and dryer,
Yeah.
and then you can cut them
They
up,
become felted
sew them
wool.
together, and make an ironing top out of it. So when these go together in your quilt, you're gonna have them, and I'm gonna have my deer and my cardinals right side up. Gonna have them kind of like that. Or you can twist them. I mean, if you don't have prints that have things that you want right side up, you can twist them and you get kind of a pinwheel effect here. And go like this, and then you have kind of these come together here. Let's see what else we can come up with. It's really your kind of option. And here you get these. Well, these are the same. And here I think you had 4 different. Yep, 4 different. So it's really your choice how you put this together. It's going to be 3 blocks across by 3 blocks down. I personally think this is more interesting, and I don't really care that these prints are sideways and they're right side up here. I think having these 4 fabrics here do kind of like a pinwheel is more interesting. And then I like the fact that the cornerstones are all going in the same direction. So what'll happen when you're putting this together is these cornerstones will go like this. This next row will go like this. So it'll be interesting when we go to quilt it, because you have lots of different shapes to work with. But you decide. I mean, you can line them up just like this and put them across. Or you can change it up. Or you can get all your blocks done, put them out on a table, and adjust them the way you want. And then just pick them up and sew them together. So have fun this week putting your blocks together and having the Disappearing 9 patch. This video will be tagged at the top of the page, so you'll be able to replay it as often as you want during the week. If you have questions or comments during the week, pipe on, type them in, send me a private message. I will answer you as soon as I can. Other than that, thanks for sewing with us, and you guys have a great night. Bye-bye.